next question is for Esther. And talking about asking questions, be curious. If you read Esther's bio, that's exactly what she's all about. And I love the attitude that she has when she approaches that project. She enjoys conversation, talking to people, finding out about people, and she's not afraid of asking questions. And she embraces whatever that question the answer might be, and that's great. And I'm proud to say we Cynda Media Lab gave Esther her first job in branding, and now she's a senior brand manager.
Okay. So Esther, how do you collaborate with the Wikimedia Foundation staff and contractors since they are spread out all around the world?
Yeah. Okay, so I think first up I have to explain what Wikimedia Foundation is. And to explain what Wikimedia Foundation is I actually have to explain what Wikimedia Movement is. So basically, Wikimedia Movement is all the different wiki projects out there in the world that you can see on this slide, that all are working for this one sort of vision of imagine a world in which every single human being can freely share in the sum of all knowledge. And I think the most famous one that everyone knows is Wikipedia, but there's many other ones. And within this, and the reason why we call it a movement, there's 200,000 volunteers that write and debate and create all the content on these sites. There's 600 million donors that help these projects stay alive because it's all a non-for-profit. And then there is some staff members as well, which is where I come in with the Wikimedia Foundation. And the Wikimedia Foundation is really in charge of the infrastructure of making sure that we are constantly giving people access to this knowledge. And in that is helping to do fundraising, a lot of the tech stuff, but as well as the reputation and building upon the brands that are a part of this movement. So that is sort of my role. And then, so the next slide, so thinking about that, we, in part of the Wikimedia Foundation, we have 350 people around about in the foundation, and they're all around the world. We do have a headquarters in San Francisco, but only about 50 people work from those headquarters. Otherwise, we're spread out. We also work very closely with all the different community members and volunteers. So the big thing that I have learned, and I've been with the foundation for about, I think, 9 months, is I've had to get very, very comfortable with kind of suggestion mode and comments. And this is sort of a link to Google Docs, right? Or Google Slides where anyone can jump on in, make some suggestions and leave some comments. And I was not used to this. I'm used to like being very prepared that my work is like 99% there, and then I will present it to whoever I want them to see. And we can then kind of discuss it, and I can defend all the things while we're in the room. And that's just not possible. One, it's timely. And two, how can you do that when your partner is in Cairo and Johannesburg and all around the world? So I've had to get very, very comfortable with being like, this is 100% a work in progress. My key thing now is like, if I at least just start it, then it will get going and people will just get in there and roll with it. And I've really, it's funny, I was thinking about this, getting ready for this presentation. I used to hide in the library at FIT when I was working on a design, and I would make sure that my back was towards the wall. So if any of my colleagues came by, other students came by, they couldn't see what I was doing because I just wasn't ready. I always found it got really ugly before it got good. And that's the same with writing. It's the same with anything. It's the same with even putting a timeline together. But so I think we all have to get much in this collaborative spirit. We have to get much more comfortable of people kind of seeing, the quote unquote ugly, because actually, if you can get in at that point and make it grow from there, it's just whatever you're working on is going to be 100% better.
Great. And I think you mentioned a couple of things that's really essential, in my opinion. First of all, branding is not just about design. It's a whole process. It's about communicating, talking to people, which in other ways is actually very similar to user experience design. It does that as well. And the other thing you talk about is get over the insecurity, which I believe is critical. because in design education, that's kind of how we prepare students. We want them to work on their design, put the design on the wall, and then defend your design. So you learn to talk to designer, which I think there's a great value in that. But also at the same time, you get into that comeback mode when you show your work to someone rather than embracing. And so how did you get over that insecurity and stop making sure your back is to the wall?
Yeah. You know what? I actually the key thing is that I called up my boss one day and I said, I'm struggling with this. Like I send you something and then 6 people jump in and do their thing with it. And I take that as I did a bad job. I didn't like, I'm obviously not fulfilling my role because people are coming in and making changes. And by the way, this is really anything. Like, I think this is working on a persona, working on a user flow, anything about it. And he sort of just went, oh, that's our way. Like, if you actually even think about Wikipedia and how the content is made, it is made by all different contributors around the world coming in and editing each other's stuff, debating what it should be, bringing in your own personal experience and your, like, the, you know, credible sources that you're pulling your facts from. He's like, this is what we do, and this is kind of magical. I was like, yeah, it is, because 1.5 billion users come to these projects every day, you know, every month for knowledge. You know, so it was one, I think the most important thing was like showing that vulnerability with your manager, and he could then enlighten me and like actually the bonus, actually the true reason behind it. And it sort of like took me out of it. Like, no one's even thinking about, did you do a good job or anything in this? They're just truly wanting to like enhance it and make it better, all for the greater good of what you're working on. You're like, oh, cool. So this isn't about me.
That's a great team dynamic.